All right, welcome to the Walking Out Your Purpose podcast with yours truly, Alicia Smith. I am so elated to be with you all one more time. And today we have a special guest. Her name is Kamille Hutchinson, and I can't wait for you all to hear her story, a unique one. She is a beautiful spirit, a friend of mine that we actually met online, believe it or not, years and years ago when she moved to Michigan. And she reached out and we connected and we've been connected ever since. So thank you, LinkedIn, for connecting us. And I'm so excited again for you all to hear her journey and to learn a little bit about her. So welcome to the show, Kamille.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. It is always a pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to our conversation.
Awesome. You can't be more excited than me. I am, and I want the audience to know this woman has taught me so many things. I was just telling her before the show that every time I drink a smoothie or a juice, I think about her. She's like so healthy. And she's just, like I said, just a beautiful, beautiful spirit. And I can't wait for you all to hear. So, why don't we start with Kamille? You just telling everyone who you are, a little bit about you, and what you're all about.
Sure. So, as she said, my name is Kamille Hutchinson. I am a lover of God. I am a wife. I am a mother. And I love cooking. I love baking and spending time with my family. And I just recently re entered the workforce after almost 3 years at home with our two little girls.
Awesome, awesome. Let's start with that because that's a huge transition. How has that been so far?
The first half of a week was fantastic. The last half of the first week and last week was challenging because my daughter's school closed because one of the teachers there had COVID. So I got to experience working from home with two kids, two and under, and my husband working as well. So that was very challenging to try and keep her occupied and entertained as I'm onboarding and learning new things at the same time. I think it was more challenging for me. For the folks at my job, everybody loved meeting them because they would pop up in my Zoom meetings. And I will say the interview experience I had made me comfortable having them pop up in the Zooms because the first interview I had with the company, Carrie, my husband, had the baby, started crying, and he couldn't console her. So I had to go get her. So in the middle of the interview that I was having, I was like, can you hold on for a second, please? I need to go get my baby. I went and got the baby, brought her back. I'm there like calming her down and soothing her and feeding her and responding to interview questions at the same time. So in my first interview for the job, I had my baby in my arms, feeding her. And it went, I thought it went well, but I was like, they're not gonna call me back. I had to stop the interview to go get my baby. But at the end of the interview, she was like, oh, what's her name? And I shared the name. She's like, she's so adorable, and started playing with her through the screen. And then a couple of days later, I got a call back and was like, we'd like to do another interview with you. And I was like, oh, it didn't stop them from interviewing me. I was like, I guess times have changed because, I mean, if you're in an interview and you're like, hold on, let me pause, go get my baby and come back, that's not normal. But I guess COVID has readjusted people's expectations during interviews, knowing that families are all home together. So you have to expect things to switch up every once in a while. So other than the girls being home, it has been fantastic. The
Yeah.
company is amazing. The people are amazing. It has been a wonderful onboarding experience. Um, and I'm looking forward to growing there.
That's awesome. And you're right. I mean, listen, we're all in this pandemic together. And, there's no telling what you'll see on Zoom meetings. But I think everybody has just grown a tolerance to understand. Right. And we should have been there anyway, just with people having to work remote and having grace for people. But certainly this whole idea of majority of people working from home, not having to go into the office, people have somehow now come to a place of understanding. And at the end of the day, you're gonna do your job and it's gonna be fine. So that's great. But that, yeah, like you said, that speaks volumes because if that happened during the interview process, like you said, you're a little bit more comfortable that these things may happen. That's for sure. So very good. So talk to us a little bit about how you would define your purpose And would you say that your purpose and your profession match up, or would you say that you do those things independently?
That is a great question. So, defining my purpose, I will share at the end of last year, at the end of 2020, um, I won't say I was feeling lost, but I felt like I needed something to do. As we were talking earlier, you came up with your podcast while you guys were home, and I was trying to figure out what is it that I can do to have impact. And so I prayed to God and I was like, look, I know there's something you want me to do. Please make that clear to me, crystal clear, so that I know it's not me, it's you. Prayed that prayer and I went about my business and then went to sleep. And in the middle of the night, God woke me up and spoke to me. And he told me everything he wanted me to do, what he wanted me to accomplish, and how to do it. I'm always someone to set goals. I don't always set smart goals. But what he did was he came to me and told me to relaunch the website that we have, hutchlife.com, start a podcast. I have to read a certain number of books and to share the ins and outs of our journey to financial independence with others, and create a planner. Now, I was like, oh, okay,
Oh,
cool.
oh, girl, I'm over here like, oh, I'm learning this to you guys as she's saying this, and I'm so excited because I love planners. Here's my planner right here.
It
I
was,
can't wait. Okay.
I'm telling you, and I was like, this is interesting. I mean, it made me uncomfortable. One, because it's a lot of things. And I don't like doing multiple things. I don't feel like I can do multiple things at the same time and do them all well. And I said that, and he said, but it's not you doing it. And then I was like, oh, okay, let me forget about relying on myself and rely on him. And so what ended up happening was after that, I was like, okay, God, I hear you. Cool. So I laid back down to go to sleep. And then he woke me up and said, I want you to create a merch line through your website. And so I was like, I don't understand what that means. So he gave me every tagline he wanted me to create and the Bible scriptures that went with them. And I started writing. I got up in the middle of the night, I turned on my phone light, flashlight, and I started writing them down in the notebook beside my bed. And I'd write it down, and then the scripture would come to mind. I'd be like, okay, write it down, lay down. A couple minutes later, another one, write it down, lay down. A couple minutes later. And that happened like 4 or 5 times. And I was like, finally, I can't sleep. I need to get up and like do something with this. So I got up out of bed with the notebook and the paper and the pen, and I went to the computer and I got online and I just started creating the merchandise and the shirts, the sweatshirts, a journal, and a mug. And I wasn't tired after all that because this was early in the morning. I wasn't tired. And I was like, okay, I guess this is it. And then he was like, no, I'm not done yet. So I ended up planning out my entire year by day with every task broken down. And he was like, in this quarter of the year, this is what you're going to do. This quarter of the year, this is what you're going to do. So every quarter of the year, there's something that he wants me to launch. So I've been focused on that. And now that I've started work, I'm like, how am I going to do this along with a job? It was one thing to do it while I'm home and I have the girls. It's another to be working, do this, be a mom, be a wife, and be me. But he has been faithful and continually reminding me not to rely on myself to get this done, but that he'll make ways for it to happen. And I am still on track for the first thing that's relaunching, which is our website. And that's going to launch at the end of March, beginning of April for my first quarter of the year project. So I'm very, very excited about that. And I feel like he is going to use this to help anybody that feels like they're stuck in debt to get out of it. And that was the tagline he gave us: debt breakers, legacy creators. He wants us to create our legacy. And he's the person that can help us do that. and being in debt is bondage, and he wants us to break that. And so I believe that that's what my purpose is right now. And through work, I will say, I think it ties in terms of my focus on diversity and inclusion in my role. And so I really want to help people of color get out of debt, and build legacies for their families, because I feel like a lot of people are held back because of debt, don't feel like they can create a legacy. And when you're helping people get into careers and jobs that will provide them the financial footing that they need, it's easier for them to pay back student loans, to pay off credit card debt, to really think about their future and how they can impact the next generation as well, how they can pay forward. So I think it ties together that way.
Wow. You just said so much. Okay. So let's
I
unpack
know.
this. So I want to remind our listeners, right? Every time, I approach the mic, right? I at least try to make sure that you understand that this walk that we're on is not alone. You cannot do anything without the Spirit of God. You cannot move forward. You will in your flesh, but to have true success and it to be in alignment with God, you have to listen to the Spirit. He gives us what we need when we need it. He gives us the nudges, He gives us the resources, the support. You have whatever it is that you need in you, right? So I want to encourage people, you're hearing a live witness of this. But this is what I'm talking about, how God will just manifest things in our life. So I want to know, what or when did you talk to Carrie about your husband? And what was his response to all of this great stuff that you're going to do for both of you, right? Because the Hush Life is both of you. So talk to us about that.
So when did I tell him about it? The following night. So after I had done everything that God told me to do, when we were going to bed that night, I said, babe, I have to tell you what happened after I prayed. And so he was like, well, what happened? And I told him, and he was like, that's a lot. And I was like, I know it is. And he was like, well, how can I help you? What can I do to be there for you? And I'm not surprised, because he is so supportive and encouraging with any and everything that I want to do. Um, and at the time when we thought I would get the job, he was like, okay, so we'll figure it out together, because we're keeping our youngest home until she turns 1 in June, and then she'll go to school. So now we're um, figuring out how do we both do our jobs and take care of our 8-month-old now, and still have time to do the things that God's placed on us to do together. And so with the merch, redesign is happening, which he's going to give a lot of input on, because he is extremely creative. The website, we're going to be taking photos for the website refresh this coming Sunday. For the planner, he has such a spiritual mind and connection with God that he's going to be helping me figure out how do we incorporate scriptures from the Bible that deal with creating legacy, that deal with family, that deal with finance, so that as people are going through the planner, they have that encouragement from God to keep going, not give up, even when things can seem challenging or an obstacle comes up or you don't have the money you need, knowing that God is always faithful. So it doesn't matter what it is, if it's something for you that He wants for you, there's nothing that's going to stop that. And so we're really talking through, how do we build this out together? And how do we create that legacy for our girls so that they have something that they can look forward to as well?
That's very good. And I agree. Carrie is such a sweetheart. And I'm so glad that you all are on this path together, and that it doesn't take a lot of pulling, right? Because you all are centered from a spiritual perspective, right? So he knows if you said, hey, God, this is what God is telling us, how we need to pivot, how we need to move. is like, okay, let me hop on board and just support. And we both have husbands like that. So that's a beautiful thing. And for those that, just to pivot real quick, for those that are single, these are the type of men that you want to be in partnership with, right? People that, again, equally yoked. That this is why that biblical scripture is important. And I know that scripture is talking about a lot of different things, but when we think about marriage, it applies there too, that you have to be equally yoked, because it makes this journey we call life, which is already difficult,
Yes.
right, a little bit easier when you have someone that's in the corner of God at the end of the day, not even your corner, but the corner of God.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I mean? It just, you get to alignment quicker, you get to support, and you get to understand that the ultimate goal, of course, is heaven, but the ultimate goal is to bring him glory and to, like you said, is to leave a legacy. Because when we think about why sometimes we're at a disadvantage as a people, we don't have the structure, the setup. People are, they're here in the race, we're back here trying to catch up. So we have to do our part, and we no longer can make excuses because we have so many resources. We've got people like Kamille that's going to help us, right, financially. We've got so many good resources, spiritual resources as well,
Mm-hmm.
that are going to help us to set the stage for our kids. So love it, love it, love it. So talk to me a little bit about what you do on a daily basis. Like, what are some habits? Because I'm trying to get the audience to start to put together habits. And I know you are a probably perfect person to respond to this, but like, what are some habits that you do daily to keep you in alignment, to keep you in alignment with your purpose, to keep you in alignment with your passions?
So my day always starts with giving thanks. Um, Tomorrow is never promised. The next second is never promised. So knowing that God chose to wake me up means that he's got something for me to do. So it starts with thanks and asking him, what is it that you want me to do today? Then I have my own personal devotion. Then my girls are usually up at that time. So I get up, go get the girls, we pray together, thanking God for another day, and then get breakfast together. We have breakfast together as a family. Um, and our morning wake up song with the girls, who do a little dance party before breakfast, is I Thank God by Maverick City. So we listen to that song, dance, have breakfast, and then, well, now that Karis is going back to school, we'll take Karis to school, then come back home, get Ava situated. We'll look at our calendars for the day to see when our meetings are. If they don't overlap, then we hand off the baby between meetings. If they do overlap, we decide which meetings are the ones where we would prefer the other person to have the baby, or vice versa. Um, have lunch. And then I use my lunchtime for my own personal growth and development. So the goals that I set for the year, without knowing it, God told me you need 1 hour each day to work towards accomplishing these goals. And he told me to do it over my lunch break. So my calendar had everything over lunchtime, which perfectly works with work, where I have that hour break to focus on the personal goals that he has given me. Then get the girls from school, we have dinner, clean up, and we have our cleanup song, and then get them ready for bed, put them down to bed. And then when the day's over, decompress with Carrie. We talk about our days, how they went. We have our own family worship after we put the girls down, and we do family worship with them. We have our worship together. And then I read so I can accomplish my book goals for the year, and then go to sleep. Now that we have the girls together in the same room, I'm using last week and this week to make sure that the baby can stay in here, and then I can focus on my exercise goals, because I'll know the actual schedule to start working on that. But that's typically what day looks like.
Awesome. You start with God and you end with God, right?
Yep.
And when we take care of our temples, when we take care of the things that God has asked us to do to grow and to develop, um, when we dedicate time to that and we're intentional, then we actually can accomplish those things. And I think sometimes we do the vision boards, because I'm a big vision board person, but we do the vision boards and then we look a year later and we're like, so. And
Mhm.
one of the things that I taught a group of ladies recently as we were doing the vision board exercise is that's just the fun part. Like that's the picking the pictures, right? Doing all
Mhm.
that stuff. But you have to literally then sit down and say, okay, for each, because I'm a section, I like mine in sections, right? I've got a financial section, a person. I'm looking up because it's literally in front of me. I put it in front of me on my desk, so I can look at it every day. But anyway, but I have these sections, and then I was like, okay, if that's the goal for that, for marriage or whatever it is, then what am I actually going to do
Mhm.
daily or monthly or whatever, whatever makes sense, whatever that cadence is, what am I going to do to actually get that done? So
Mhm.
we have to, of course, invite God into that as well, but we have to actually put some habits in place and routines so that we accomplish our goals. So I love that you all have created that even together as a family. I think that's beautiful that you've created that, and your girls are going to remember that.
Mhm.
They're going to remember that, and that's something that they'll pass down to their family. So I love that. Okay, excellent. So tell us, I'm proud of you and Carrie and you mentioned it a little bit, but I'm so proud of you guys, and you all have definitely been an inspiration to us as we are on this debt freedom and financial freedom journey. So tell us, you all are debt free. So tell us, like, when did that happen, and what have you guys been doing since then, and kind of what's your new focus, right? Because it's like you pay off your debt, and then it's just something else new that comes. It's
It
like,
is.
you
It
know.
is. Yeah. So we became debt free November 30th of 2017. And we were one of those folks that went hard. So we literally cut everything out because we wanted to get out of debt as soon as possible. I won't tell everybody to do that. I will say you can enjoy the journey while you're becoming debt free, but we just, because it was just the two of us, we were just like, let's do it. So 2018 then came and we built our 6-month emergency fund, and then we traveled. We hadn't done that in the almost 2 years it took to get rid of our debt. And so we did a lot of traveling. We traveled along the coast of Michigan. Um, and then we did 2 trips abroad. So we went to Barcelona and we went to Jamaica. And funny enough, I got pregnant that year. So we then started focusing on preparing for a baby. So that was 2018. Carrie then got recruited by AT&T to join their finance leadership development program. And so in 2019, we ended up moving to Atlanta for his job, which was basically a little more than double his old salary. And then we were in Atlanta for 10 months, and I got Karis, our oldest, in swim class and music class. And I started working at the nursery where we were sending her, mainly because I love the environment there, and it was such a wonderful experience. Then I got pregnant again. And so we ended up moving here to Dallas last year, right before our second child came. So she was born here, actually, right outside this door in our apartment. Um, and then I just spent the first couple months just figuring out what it is to be a mom to 2 kids um, that were 2 under 2 at the time. Because Karis was 18 months when Abe was born. So she literally just turned 2, which you don't know what you don't know. So I was figuring that out, and then started interviewing for this job. And now we have this job, and we are trying to stick to the plan that we've set for our budget and for our goals and for our legacy for our girls. So being debt free, God has blessed that we learned to actually live on one income when we moved to Michigan. Like right when I met you, we learned to live on one income. And so we've been doing that as long as we have um, been out of New Jersey, so since 2013. And so the blessing is with Carrie's salary and mine, we're able to save and invest quite a bit of money. And so we're focused now on being financially independent. We don't know that we want to retire early, because if we love what we do and we feel like we're making an impact, then we'll keep doing that. But we want to, as I heard someone say in a podcast, I want to be able to set our girls up in a way that when they get to that age or stage in life, where they're trying to figure out what they want to do, they don't have to worry about money. They can just focus on their passions, and focus on what it is God's called them to do, knowing that the money will be there. Just focus on um, what it is that He's called you to do, and we're here to support you. So that's really our goal right now, just making sure that they're in a place where they don't have to worry about debt or money, and can just really be focused on their goals.
That's awesome. And what I love about that is you all are not selfish, and you're always future minded, right? Like, what can we do to help others? What can we do to help our children, help our family? And you're disciplined. That is one word I would use to describe you all in so many facets. So many facets, right? And I know some of that's your faith as well, but you're very disciplined, and there's a lot that we can learn from that. So I can't wait to see the website and all this good stuff that you guys have coming, because and I hope you incorporate some of that, because the discipline is what we need. And if we think about our purpose and we think about what it is that God is calling us to do, the only way that you're going to do, you have to have discipline and consistency. Like there's no magic formula. It's just, it's hearing the voice of God, it's being disciplined, it's being consistent. And it's being open, you know what I mean? Being open, because so many people will tell you what you're good at. And I know sometimes we just kind of brush, oh girl, I'm just, but like those are hints that God is giving you. Like this is your purpose, right? So
Yeah.
the things that you guys are doing, I'm like, this is just perfect for you all. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. So in this pandemic, has there been anything else that you all have had to pivot or change, based on what you've learned about yourself or learned about things as you've gone through this interesting time of life?
Yes, we realized we had to be even more intentional about our marriage. It is so easy to get caught up in being parents to children, and taking care of them, and the amount of time you spend with them. And then at the end of the day, you're extremely tired and you just want to sleep. So we have had to become extremely intentional about making sure we're investing in our marriage, like we're investing in our kids and investing in our future. So we have a neighbor actually that has been a blessing. Her daughter is 3, so she's a year older than Karis. And they took such a liking to each other. So they have play dates. And so we've had Karis go and do play dates with her. So Carrie and I can have some time together. And actually now that we're both working, our neighbor actually asked us, hey, do you guys want to do date nights? And I was like, yeah, that's actually on my plan. And I was going to hire a sitter, but she volunteered to watch the girls so we could actually have consistent date nights. So our goal for 2021 is to consistently have a date night, date day on Sundays. So 2 Sundays out of the month, she'll watch the girls for free. And then we're going to get a sitter to watch the girls 2 other Sundays so that we can really make sure that we have that time each week for each other, uninterrupted, to focus on us. So that's been our pivot, is really being intentional, because we understand that having a marriage founded on God, but also focused on each other and our passions, our goals, and remaining friends will only make our girls realize what a true, happy, healthy Christ-centered and founded marriage looks like.
Absolutely. And I'm nervous because when my husband hears this replay or this podcast, he's gonna be like, "Nah, I done told you." Because we literally have had this conversation, right? That same thing, right? You get busy with your career, you get busy with the kids, you get busy with ministry because both of us are doing ministry things as well, and so you lose a little bit of that. And so on my board, I have date night. Of course, I need to do better with keeping to that. But I put date night there, and he was like, "Yeah, we need to get a sitter." And I was like, "Oh, not in these COVID streets." And he's like, "Alicia, they'll probably have you send your kids to daycare, like, and you send your son to school. Like, what are you talking about?" And so yeah, he's been on me about getting a sitter. So now you just confirmed it, like just confirmed it. I need to go ahead and just do it. But no, that's awesome. And I think the fact that you both have recognized that and said, you know what, this is important. And so look how God has manifested that, right? And it goes along with you all with financials, right? Because it's like, oh, so what am I free? So so that's awesome. I love it. So yeah, that's definitely motivation for me to do what I need to do too. All right, so we've talked about, a lot of things, but I wanted the audience to just see the breadth, of who you are and the fact that you are, like I said, very on point, in alignment, doing what God has called you to do. I can't wait again to support everything that you're doing. So tell them where they can find you all on social media, your website, all that goodness. We definitely want to
Sure.
support.
So we have our website, thehutchlife.com. You see on my shirt, thehutchlife.com. It will be relaunching end of March, beginning of April. We also have a Facebook page called The Hutch Life. We're on Instagram under The Hutch Life. And I'm also on Instagram, as is my husband. My page name is Cam Hutchinson, Kam Hutchinson. So you can find us all there. And is there anywhere else? No, that's about it. That's where you can find us, and you will start to see things rolling out because I've got all my blog posts ready to go through the year. So I'll be posting once a week. And then we will have our podcast launch in July. And then we will have the planner launch in October. So you can keep an eye out for that. And then the merch that we'll be putting out will come out sporadically each quarter.
Amazing. So we'll definitely put that in the show notes and on the description on YouTube. It's been a blessing, Kamille. Thank you so much for spending time with me and our audience. And I am just so thankful and so grateful for you and everything that you all are doing. Again, I have some things I need to do, like based off this conversation, right? So this show is about exposing people to others that are walking in their calling, walking in their purpose, and seeing it based on what it is that they're doing, because your purpose and your walk is different than mine, than someone else's. And so you get to see and hear people's process, because that's the other thing. We don't just arrive at anything. It's a process. And you heard the discipline that she's taking for the year. So I hope that you all have taken some good notes and you're going to put that to action. So thank you for lending yourself today, Kamille. And tell Carrie we thank him too for lending you to us. And we wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. This was a pleasure. I'm always here to support and encourage. And if you guys aren't subscribed to this podcast, please go and subscribe. You can listen to podcasts and follow Miss Alicia Smith.
Thank you, ma'am. All righty. Be blessed.